Don't trust what you feel is right. Talk to people who are not like you. Talk to people who are very different from you. You will get a different perspective. It is important for you. If I don't upskill myself, if I'm not spending an hour and a half daily reading about these things, I'm going to be out of a job very soon. The creative should not be so powerful that people end up just talking about the creator and the brand is forgotten.
Welcome everyone to another episode of our podcast, The BigSmall Talk. Today we have with us Mr. Neel Jadhav.
Hi, Isha. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, sir, for agreeing to do this podcast with us. I am very much excited for the podcast, and I'm sure our viewers will gain a lot of insights about current trends in marketing industry. So, without any further delay, let's jump right into it. So, sir, whatever little that I got to know about you, I gathered that you're someone who cherishes simple moments in life, be it your childhood, be it your career. And you also said that if there will be a title to your story, it will be strictly average but doing fine. I'm very intrigued by it, and I would want you to just tell us more about it.
Sure, Isha. So probably not a great way to start the podcast by saying this, but I have been a very consistently average throughout my educational career. So if you look at my 10th, 12th, my engineering or even my MBA mark sheets, I have very consistently stayed in that 60-70% dollar range. So never been in a position that I'll get say debarred from placements, or never been in a position where I'll be at the top of the class or anything of that sort. The reason I actually ended up saying that is because what has happened is I have by serendipity or by chance or whatever, or by sheer laziness, I have just played to my strengths. So right through college, even through my MBA, so I took marketing as majors. So if you look at my overall score, I think I did around, would have been in my mid 60% or something, mid 60s, my percentage score. But if you look at my MBA marks or your marks on my on the marketing subjects, those have always been very good. So even from all my first year, second year, my research project that I did, I ended up doing really well in those subjects, and even at work. I have always tried to pick up profiles, or I've always tried to do things which I. So my ground rule has been: do I enjoy doing it? Which means that it's not going to be a drag, as in it's not going to be something that I just do for the paycheck. If I enjoy doing it, then I want to spend more time doing it. I want to read, spend more time learning about it from other people, reading about it, and just being overall more interested in that subject, which just makes it easier to learn. And today's we are in a world where information advantage is equal for everyone. Irrespective of where you come from, your access to information is pretty much the same. And if chat gpt is the OpenAI chatbot, is the conversational chatbot is the craze right now, and I've been trying it out. It's insanely good. It further reduces that advantage or that you had, say access to libraries, content being behind paywalls. Now you just type it out and you get answers which are fairly accurate. You still need to do a little bit of validation, but essentially, as long as the drive is there to learn, you can do really well. So coming back to why I said that is that I've always played to my strengths, which makes it easy. I've done stuff which I enjoy doing, and that has helped me. So if you look at an average, if you look at my mark sheets, or you look at the colleges that or the educational institutes that I went to, they've been fairly decent. They've never been top of the line, but I have picked up stuff which I really want to focus on, and I've really gone into that depth of that. One thing which I would urge everyone to actually read upon is, like a T-shaped market here. Assuming that the listeners are interested in marketing, A t-shirt marketer is something that companies nowadays really prefer. So you just imagine the shape T. So say you're aware of social media, you're aware of paid ads, you're aware of SEO, SEM, all of that, but you choose one vertical. So say you choose analytics, and then you really go deep. You really deep dive into it. Right from you understand analytics, you understand ML, you understand a little bit of AI, and you keep going down and down, and you become that subject matter expert. So the breadth of it helps you get into an industry, into a larger role, and you can oversee other people who understand this. So suppose if down the line I would want to be a CM, so I would need to understand over marketing at an overall level, but I'll have an area expertise which matters to that particular company, because of which I'll get that role. So that's how I would approach how I would consciously work on myself, my skill sets, and how I would grow in the same job.
Sir, actually, this aligns with the name of our podcast. We named it the Big Small Talk. So I think
Correct.
that was.
So Isha, most careers actually we can try and plan them out, and I hope that that's how it works for most people. But most of the times I've seen careers shape out like a Jenga game. Uh, it's very circumstantial. You get into something. Then you see an opportunity, so you move on to that opportunity, and that could be in the same company, or it could be across something else. I'll give an example. 5 years down the line, 5 years back, data science, we rarely never heard about it. I'm sure big data existed and all of these things were there, but it was not mainstream. So nobody, like, you walk down a road and if I ask a college student, most of them will say, I want to be a data scientist. 5 years back or 6 years back, nobody would give that answer. So these roles also evolve. And it's possible, like, or even so everyone's favorite, right? 5 years back, nobody would say I would want to be a content creator, but now that's a perfectly accepted career path to have. And it doesn't have to be Instagram touristy, or like that kind of a deal. You could be teaching people finance, or you could be teaching people engineering, drawing, for all you care. So I'm just saying that the creator economy is booming, and you don't know where your career will exactly go, because there are so many places and so many directions for us to grow our careers in. It's not how it was during our parents' time, where you say took up a particular, say you took up accounting and that's what you did all your life, right? As in, you could be an accountant and still get an MBA, and tomorrow decide to start a footwear brand, for all you can. It's all possible.
Yes, Neel, definitely talking about like having diversity in your life or a career per se. Of what also I could gather from your profile is that you have worked in different industries and different sectors, different roles. So I have two questions here for you. First would be, how easy were the switches, and second would be, why those switches?
Got it. So it's an extension of what I said earlier. Uh, so I joined. So let me actually use actual examples. So I got placed into Godrej out of campus. So I went to TAPME, and when I Godrej came to the campus, I got through, and Godrej has a sort of a what they do, or at least what they used to do when I was in colleges. They would not tell you the division or the business that you would go to. They would first take you. You will go through a month-long induction, and then they will allocate you to a particular division depending on some parameters. So I was allocated to the consumer durables division. So it was insanely hard. I'll be honest, as I had colleagues who were placed into other divisions. So the consumer durables was not profitable when I joined, which means that variable pay was always in question. And and when you're initially starting your career, all of that really matters to you. It matters now also, but it just matters a lot more then, right? Uh, and so and work hours were crazy because we were not profitable. There weren't enough people. You had to do a lot. So I used to crib, let's be very honest, as in I used to not get time to go out. Saturday I used to work, Sunday also half a day I used to work. My boss at that point in time made it a, used to really push me to go to the market, meet people, travel all the time, put in long hours. And I used to see, I had other friends who were, in other businesses of Godrej, who used to have a very, like a very balanced life. I don't think I knew the term work-life balance at that point in time, but I used to see that they could go out even on a weekday. They could catch up with other people. And here I am. I used to be in office at 8:30, and I used to come back by quite late in the evenings. I don't think I ever left while the sun was around us, and I always used to come when it was dark. I used to eat and just fall asleep. So, but in retrospect, how they say hindsight is always 2020, and so in retrospect, that made a huge difference because I got to do a lot, and we used to do a lot of experimentation. There was a lot of pressure to deliver. But what it meant was, just doing stuff which allowed you to just get by was not good enough. You had to show results. As in, if I had to ask for a rupee, I had to show that how will I get say 2 rupees, 5 rupees in return. So I was very before digital itself. The term ROI, and that ROI pure play was in terms of how many sales we generated. Like we did an ad, and how many actual units were sold. So there was pressure to deliver on that, which actually helped. In the 4 years that I was there, I ended up doing three different roles. My last role, I got to launch a new brand for Godrej. It's called NXW. If it's still there in the market, so which was a whole new experience for me. And then I it just happened that I got a call from Jet Airways. It was a completely different company. Then they didn't ask me. I didn't check that if they fired me. I was just quite happy to receive that call. At that point in time, Jet was the second largest airline, and you had free travel. So it flew to some 20 international destinations. I remember not even asking what's the offer that they were giving me. They told me you can take as many flights as you want. I was like sold, and I was. So coming back to your question, Isha, is marketing is, as long as the consumer remains the same, marketing also pretty much remains the same. If you talk about it from a from a little bit of a technical aspect, if you look at that consumer journey, you would notice that where this consumer seek information, where they make a decision, the parameters that influence that decision, whether it is peer reviews, it is the value of the brand, the risk reduction that brings in, that is brought into this, into the buying process, decision making through various, all of these parameters, they pretty much remain the same. You buying an airline ticket versus you buying say a piece of headphone, it's not strictly different. Even from a say the discovery process of where you look for that particular thing. I'm sure, as in the because the ticket value may be different, so the amount of research that a consumer would put into it may differ, but the fundamentals remain the same. And as long as you make it a practice to talk to the consumer, look at what they're saying, try to look at the data that you get, marketing pretty much remains the same. Airline happens to be a little more technical. So when I went for the first couple of weeks, I completely felt out of place because of the lingo, because of nuances, because of a lot of information which is specific to that industry. Like say from the booking curves. How when is it that say 50% of the aircraft should be filled? Just give an example, as in that's something that's not applicable to say selling headphones. So those things are minor, and that is just information that anyone in your team or people around you can provide that to you. What you bring in is again unique, and as long as you're good at that, it's quite easy to fit in. So I did. change industries. I have been in travel and aviation now for a bit. I would say that I understand a part of it also now. But moving from FMCD to aviation wasn't difficult at.
Yes, Neil, as it is rightly said that if you know your consumer, then I think you'll thrive in whichever sector you're choosing. Consumer is the center of every marketing strategy or
Correct.
any division of your business.
Exactly. Correct.
Uh, what I could gather from their whole journey is that you have always gotten some chance in every company to build something from scratch, as you were saying in Godrej, in Jet Airways. So I would want to know that have you ever not thought of starting your own startup, like be it in past or future? Because startup is the buzzword these days. Uh,
So, honest answer, I don't know if I have that kind of discipline and grit to actually take that kind of pressure and create something. And I want to say this as in want to give you I don't want to give you a sugar coated answer. I think for someone, because I see this, one of my role models is Vinay Dubey, who's the CEO of Akasa Air. If I could show you, I have a picture of him here with me. Like it's right here. I can actually show it. A little unscripted way. Yeah. You can't see this, sorry, because of the blur.
oh, it's visible now.
Yeah. So it says, what would Vinay do? Uh, uh, and I live by it. One of the nicest people and reaffirms my faith that, and I'm not with Akasa anymore, so I have no reason to say this. But sort of reaffirms my faith in the fact that good guys can win. Very thorough gentleman, very fair, very honest. Very consumer centric. Does what he says. So, and I've seen him. I have seen him work. I have seen some of the people at Akasa work, and I feel, my God, as in, to have that kind of persistence and have that kind of grit is it's still a little far away for me to get there. That's my honest answer. I am still someone who, I love what I do, absolutely love what I do. I have no problem. As in, I find it easy to put in long hours also. I don't even realize that. But uh, it will be a few years before, and it's not about what idea you have, whether you have an idea or not. I think it's about these things, and I would want to say two things, as in which is what I end up telling people also, is if you're comfortable with learning on your own, and you're comfortable with uncertainty, you really need to be very, very comfortable with those two things to be able to survive in a startup. I have been in a situation. I've worked on Akasa before it got funding, so it was just a presentation. It was not an airline. So there was every possibility that the effort that we were putting in would have gone to waste, or nobody would have invested, and all of those things could have mattered. But in the end, you know, so I know, and I felt a part of the pressure, but for the guys at the top to feel that kind of pressure and to live with it, and to maintain that demeanor and constantly give us younger guys and women and my female colleagues that confidence that it's happening, we're doing it, our business model is sound, we are professionals. Eventually, someone will see that through, and we got the best possible investor, as in Akasa got the best possible investors. Yeah. You have to tell me if I'm giving too long an answer, then I can work on a
No, sir, it's
condensed answer.
absolutely no, it's absolutely fine, sir. We want an in-depth analysis and your point of view of around everything over time.
Right.
Okay, so then when you said that in Akasa you have to build things and you have literally built a brand from scratch. So, and you have been a core marketing person throughout your career journey. So, I would just want you to tell us about how the role of a brand manager has evolved around the last 10 years, uh, and what patterns are you seeing in the near future for brand managers?
Interesting question. Uh, so before we get into that, what has not changed is first something that we need to address, because that's more important and that's something that can completely derail you. What percentage of population in India flies? Just take a guess.
Sir, I guess around 20.
So you're not. This is not the first time that I'm hearing a number like that. As in, less. Just Google that. As in, it's less than 5% of the population.
Oh.
The reason we feel 20% of the population flies is that everyone in your circle flies, everyone in my circle flies, right? But there's a and I've read somewhere. So IATA is a good source to get all of this information, and also Ministry of Civil Aviation publishes these numbers. That 1% of population, 1% of the population of this 5% constitutes to around 40-50% of the total flights taken. So have you heard of that long tail phenomena?
No.
Okay, so essentially, I think there was a Netflix case study or a Blockbuster case study when I was in college. Essentially, there are some titles which are very popular and they get these firms all the money, but there are certain titles which are not very popular, but there's a specific audience who seeks those. So so coming back, what I meant to say is that because we feel everyone we know flies, we assume that flying is a very common thing. So it's a halo effect. What it means is that, and it comes into play many times. You'll see a lot of product failures happening, right? And the reason for that is these assumptions that come into play. It's very important to actually talk to the consumer. Again, I'll keep repeating this again and again. Talk to the consumer, look at data, keep those things in mind before you make a decision. It's when you're working on a creative, it's fine to go with your gut, but when you're making a business decision, you have to look at what are the numbers, what is it that the stats are saying. So that's very important. That remains the case. A lot of companies, this is painful. Getting information is not easy. It delays things in time. When I say delays things, it just takes time. What it means is that there will be always pressure to deliver stuff immediately, and it's difficult to also say that let's do a consumer research, because you're talking to people who have 20-30 years of experience or sitting in that room, and to tell them that your opinion is fine, but let's talk to the consumer. So it's a difficult thing to actually even propose. But mature marketing organizations don't do, like, it's the way of life for them. And that's also a difference. I mean, you'll get to know whether an organization is a marketing organization or not a marketing organization through these things. You look at the marketing ecosystem, you look at the market stack, and you will know that how mature that becomes. So now coming back, like I was saying, there is an insane amount of competition for mind space, attention. We are entering a cookieless world. There will be, the whole hype that we had last year around NFTs and metaverse is dying. Because I think this is my purview. I'm no expert, but I think brands looked at it completely in a different manner. The fundamentals of what NFTs can do, non-fungible tokens can do, which is like have unique identifiers, the whole blockchain model that it works on, it still has a lot of application. For example, what has happened through the entire last year, is that art pieces or creatives or stuff has been put out as NFTs. People have bought it, and now they are finding it hard to sell. I was reading somewhere that the first tweet was bought for some $2.9, and it was listed for sale for $40 million. So the first tweet by Jack Dorsey was bought by someone for 2.8 or 2.9 million USD. That person then listed it for selling for 40 million USD. The highest bid that has been received on that is $280. So the whole we have as marketeers, we have this thing where we want to latch on to trends immediately. I think we need to let go of that fascination, and we need to look at the underlying applications of that. So coming back, I'm saying that there's the use of technology, what it can do for you, how it can make your rupee go further. Uh, how can it make your marketing messaging sharper? All of those things are a lot more easier today, and the more and more we use them, the better off our marketing will be. It's become a norm. Earlier, there used to be a digital marketing role. Now there's a marketing role. Everyone is supposed to understand digital. If I myself don't like me specifically, if I don't upskill myself, if I'm not spending an hour and a half daily reading about these things, I'm going to be out of a job very soon. Traditional roles are not going to exist in that in that sense anymore, because everything is e-commerce, everything is digital, everything is sold online, right?
Everything is fast changing. I mean, one day you got to hear about metaverse, next day I don't know what different on different lines technologies might come. So I guess that is why you read a lot, and I think you also like to put it on your social media as well, because I have been seeing you are quite active on LinkedIn.
I
So
am.
yeah, I want to
So
know how did you manage time from your work and also doing LinkedIn only?
so interesting. Isha, sorry, I'll just add one more point on what I said earlier. So these new things, right, whether they work or not work, it's important to be aware of these things and even try them out. Like, right now everyone is saying, I never invested in crypto. But most people are saying that it was a mistake to invest in crypto. So ignore crypto for now, but the new things which are coming up, right, as it's important to have an open mind towards this. Metaverse may not work the way we imagine, say in terms of virtual events, but the applications of it may be boring, but they do exist. For example, you can have simulations, you can have crew trainings. I'm say talking from an airline perspective. Um, for example, NFT, right? The full fundamental of NFT. We may not need a art piece which is sold as an NFT, but we could definitely use it for warranties. We could definitely use it for identifying spare parts. This all sounds boring, but I'm saying you could have NFT passports, your vaccine certification. So the applications of this is is going to stay. Usually we go mad and embrace technology, and then there's disappointment, and then we lambast it. We need to have a more mature. This is my recommendation, that be open to new things, read about it, um, let other people try it out, but keep a watch on it. If it works, embrace. Sorry, you had asked me about LinkedIn. So here's the thing. I wish I had started writing on LinkedIn a lot sooner. No, not just LinkedIn. It could have been my blog, or uh, it could have been say Twitter, or it could have been any platform. I'm just saying that I wish I had done it sooner. What I see is that people who started earlier, they have a huge advantage in terms of, say, follow count, their own recognition, their personal brand, and all of that. What I've realized is that I need to put my money where my mouth. So you got the phrase right. Essentially, if I'm saying if I'm a marketeer, I should be able to write content, create content, have a point of view on that. And whatever I've been doing on LinkedIn has helped me a lot. in terms of even say recruiting people, making connections, learning about new things. That is one aspect. Another aspect is that it's just like a very so I used to look up in my current role as well, and at Akasa. So I used to look after social media, as in social media resided under me. uh, and now I know for a fact, like how it works, what works, what kind of language works, what kind of copy works. I would say no. I would say I understand it a little better than I used to before. I also know how difficult it is to create that. Creating stuff, putting it out there for other people to comment on it, or even criticize it. It's difficult. So it just, I think, has made the way I give feedback to my agencies, the way I give feedback to my team members, it just uh, made me more sensitive, more brought in a bit more empathy in my dealings with all of these things. That's a more rational answer. The emotional one, or the closer to my heart, the answer is that I need those 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the morning. So, typically it's when either I'm on my way to work, or, essentially it's usually that it's on my way to work when I have those, say, 40, 45 minutes. It's when I'm doing that, I'm completely detached from everything else. And it's like a huge tick mark on things that I'm doing purely for myself. You lose control of the day very quickly, and you at the end of the day realize that you're not done anything for your own sake. So at least writing on LinkedIn gives me that sense of feeling that this is some focus on myself also that I've been able to get.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
if it answered it.
it works like a meditation for you. I
Yeah,
know.
it's therapy for me, is
Yeah,
how I would put it. Yeah.
good to hear that. So we were talking about LinkedIn and ever changing algorithms. Also, you are like, and you never crack an algorithm. It's changing. But there was a brief phase in the times where there was OG marketing campaigns happening, and some we still remember if we hear the tune. So I have like planned a quick game for you here, where
Awesome.
I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna show you a few marketing campaigns, and it's just a bit of it. It's not the complete ad, and then
Yeah.
you have to guess the company or the product it is marketing. And I also would want you to speak on that campaign or the company's marketing thing.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay, so let me share my screen quickly.
Yeah.
पढ़ता है खेलता है झूलता उछलता है दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है.
Okay,
So I have a deep connection with Amul in two ways. So my engineering college was in Gujarat, in the same city that
okay.
Amul is based out of. So that is one. And second is my research project was on Amul. So Tapmi has this it's where you do a live project. So this is 2011, and the whole positioning of milk to be positioned as an energy drink was the output of that this thing. And if you would remember, I think a few years down the line, there was a campaign which came out which said the original sports drink.
Yes.
So Amul is phenomenal, as in for and for a brand to do something like what Amul has done for so long is insane. I cannot think of any other brand which has done, been so consistent and so well recognized. So hats off to the team at Amul and the agency who does this. I think it is FCB Ulka, if I'm not mistaken, which is the creative agency.
Yeah,
I'm not
indeed.
sure, but yeah.
They have very interesting market. Even I think they But the cost also very in a very innovative way when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, right.
So now second video is me.
2, 3, 4, 5.
So,
Yeah,
Pidilite Favistic,
very
it's so
quick.
difficult to, yeah, it's as I really am nobody to comment on these. These are iconic brands, and again, as in same category, what I said for Amul, as in to do this for so long, it's just incredible. Incidentally, we at Akasa have the same agency, Shebang, who manages the social mandate for Pidilite. Even you remember, so in Bombay, where the Pidilite office is there's a lot of traffic in that area. So they had a Google Map ka screenshot that they posted. Stuff like that, which is so relatable and just genius. I love such. I love the work that they do. It's really
Yes,
good.
but I mean,
Incidentally, my ex-manager at Jet Airways, he was marketing at Jet Airways, and I used to report it to him. He went to Pidilite after Jet.
I mean,
Yeah.
Pidilite's campaigns are always very intriguing, be it Fevicol or any other product.
Yeah, I know. So here's the thing, guys. As in, it's not a high engagement product. For example, it's not an air ticket. It's not fascinating. You don't look forward to buying your next set of glue. But to make it so much fun, that's just great marketing.
Yes. That we are even sitting here and discussing
This,
those
yeah, correct.
Okay, so the third ad. Okay, I'm guessing this is very easy
Yeah.
for you.
So but is it Star? Did I get it right?
It is Star Sports for
Star
a
Sport.
World Cup campaign. They were.
Correct. So here's the thing. Creative attribution. So what happens is lot of. I'm glad I got it right, but this is something that we have to be careful about. Not about this ad at all, but generally in marketing, that sometimes the ad, you have to balance what the brand is and what the creative is. Because what will happen is that, say, a few years down the line, somebody could just say that this is, say, Hotstar. Just give me an example. Because the connection of this to the brand uh, may or may not be very strong. You could just replace the underlying TV channel. This is a brilliant creative, right? It's a great creative. Everything is there. But I know from a time bound point of view, it is spot on that, the World Cup was happening at that point in time. These matches were happening at that point in time. And I think they got multiple variations ready also beforehand, depending on which country won. So they had probably, for a brand to go ahead and invest, without knowing the outcome on so many variations is also commendable. Which means that the marketing team has a lot of say in that company, which is great. Which means they do phenomenal work. But I'm saying that this is something that you have to be careful about. That the creative should not be so powerful that people end up just talking about the creative and the brand is forgotten. You can think of multiple examples where this happens.
Definitely, even the IPL campaign. So there was this one campaign where they shot balloons of different team jersey color on people, saying "Sabki bari aayegi." So that was there, but till the end, I couldn't figure out that this was an IPL ad.
Got it. So there are multiple ways to do that. For example, say because you're talking about IPL, you know how Kingfisher does that, right? That tune. So it's just not audio. It could be, for example, say Virat Kohli, Chris Gayle, all of these may feature in various ads so that misattribution can happen again and again. But the whole there are various cues, visual cues, audio cues, that jingle. And you hear that jingle and you know it's Kingfisher.
So in that
those are
ad
the-
also, there was this jingle coming, and then immediately clicked me that, okay, this is IPL.
Correct, exactly. So even Amul has one, incidentally. The thing at the end, the sound that you hear.
Yes. That ting 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 something.
Yeah,
Just like that.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. So the fourth.
So I remember this ad. Is it JK Cement?
It's Ambuja Cement.
It's Ambuja Cement. Here's the thing. So, but it's to be fair to them, I'm not in the market for cement. So, I'm not the core consumer here that they're targeting. And also, it's not been on air for a very long time.
Yes. But it was very funny
Get an
to
example
watch.
of what I was saying. Yeah.
Yes.
So that association gets built over a period of time. It could be the theme, it could be the character that you use. So, for example, if they through the years they decide to just be with Boman Irani, then that association becomes stronger. Almost like that Maslow's thing where you hear a bell and the dogs start salivating. So you have to, over a period of time, invest in these things and build that association in the consumer's mind.
Okay. So this segment is now, like, we're done with this segment. Now we are coming to the end of the podcast, but I just want to ask one last question. You have always been like this core marketing person, or from starting of your career journey till the end. I think currently you recently left the job at Akasa Air as a GM for marketing. So, what is that one thing that worked as a holy grail for you in the world of branding and marketing?
So, what happens is that let me structure this properly. You will hear this a lot when you go out and start working, that marketing is subjective, or creatives are subjective. Some people may like it, some people may not. As a marketeer, what I would recommend you do is always try your best to get that subjectivity out of the equation. There are various ways you can do this. So we have to move away from opinions. Coming back to that halo effect that I feel this is right. For example, I'll give you an actual example. Pandemic as a word. After 2 years of the pandemic, we had worked on a safety card that goes inside the aircraft, right? I think it was that. And there was a word which was written pandemic, and uska Hindi, like we needed a regional translation of that. So we were just debating whether we should keep it. It's been 2 years, everyone knows about it. So we actually went, like I literally took a printout of that and went through the building. And I spoke to all the guards who stand outside these offices. 9 out of 10 did not understand pandemic as a word. Sorry. This was emergency services.
Okay.
Sorry, it was pandemic. Pandemic as a word. I'm sure it was pandemic as a word. It's a very minor thing, the example that I'm giving. But you would assume, right, that now we've lived through this for 2 years, everyone understands pandemic. But people are exposed to information very, very differently. You'll be surprised, as in, like, people, something which seems, the way of life for us may not be the case for other people. So coming back, so I'm saying these hypotheses, you should have a hypothesis, you should be able to, test it out and prove it. So talking to consumers, relying on tools and models and frameworks is also very, very important. For example, if I were to show a logo to someone, I would never just, take a printout of the logo and walk into a room and show it. I will always have a piece of paper given out to everyone with 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever parameters, and I'll tell them rate this on this. For example, say if you and I were to create a logo for, say, headphones again, right? Because we're discussing headphones. So now I'll add, say, 3 parameters to it: whether it's easy to recall, whether it's unique, whether it's scalable. When I say scalable, we can have a big hoarding with the logo, or it'll be on Amazon as a grid view like this big. Will people be able to recognize? Now score on these three parameters. If you go to people and say, do you like this logo? You had it. Everyone is creative. Everyone has their own opinion, right? So you have to move away from these things. And obviously the other part that I said that, please subscribe, pay from your own pocket if required, but, subscribe to reports, read as much as you can on analytics, learn from, other people's examples, follow what your competition is doing. For example, I have a dedicated email account where I have gone and subscribe to every newsletter from every airline that you can imagine. So, and as I don't do it anymore because I'm not in aviation, but when I was working in aviation, I used to make it a point that every 2-3 weeks I would open all those emails and just get a sense of what is it that these people are talking about. So, because we cannot outthink everyone, as in we have to rely on other people to do the thinking, and we can get inspired from that. So I'm saying there's no magic pill. There is no one thing which I can tell you. All I can tell you is that, again, move away from subjectivity, move away from opinion. Don't trust what you feel is right. Test out that hypothesis. Talk to people who are not like you. Talk to people who are very different from you. You will get a different perspective. It is important for you to know. Nobody cares what we have to say, right? Read up on this, please, Isha, and I would request everyone to read up on this. Is jobs to be done. Jobs to be done is essentially a phrase which read up on this. You probably know about this.
There was this one video where it's not a product, it is a certain job that a person wants to get done, and therefore they buy it.
Exactly. So we imagine or we create a product from a particular point of view, but it may be the consumer has a very different use case for it, and majority of consumers may have that use case for it. Just give an example, right? That's what it is. There are all these things put together will just make you a better marketeer, is how I would say. Also, another point: marketeers have a tendency to sort of get isolated from what is happening in the organization. Your internal departments are also your consumers. The more you go and sit with them, spend time with them, the more you will understand what's happening. Information disadvantage in a corporate is a very real thing. If something is happening and not aware of it, you are at a loss. So those things are important. And I purely say this from how can you help other people? How can you help HR recruit faster or get the right candidates? How can you help sales fix up a certain day of the week on which the sales are always poor? Or how can you help, the finance team lower cost or get better ROI on your spends? So those are again things which will just, put you, or people will start looking at you differently, which is always a good thing.
Wonderful. That is a great piece of advice for us as MBA students. So this brings us to the end of this podcast. Thank you so much, Neel, for making this happen. We would love to host you on our Hilltop campus sometime very soon.
Thank you so much for this, Isha. It was an absolute pleasure. Yeah. See you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir.